So did you always want to be an entrepreneur?
No. I always enjoyed sales. I always enjoyed speaking to people, connecting with people, building relationships. But I'd love to say I was doing lemonade stands at 7 years old and things like that. I'd love to. This is why I think entrepreneurs can be built, as well as there's an innate, that there's just a calling that you have. And some people have that calling very early on, and at 18 or 21, they go, I've just got to start a business. That wasn't how I thought. The family that I had were not entrepreneurial at all. The friends that I had at that time were not entrepreneurial at all. And as I say, I started this journey probably about 2008, 2009, a year or two into my corporate experience, and just really wanted to become more entrepreneurial. I still was nowhere near ready taking that jump to actually start my own businesses, but it was something that I was listening to books, listening to podcasts. I was commuting into London like an hour and 10. I'd listen to a couple of episodes on a podcast. I'd get through a good chunk of books there and back. And then I started working with a mentor who helped me grow as a person, but equally get promoted really, really efficiently in corporate world. And he was an entrepreneur. And he just encouraged me to think differently. And then by the time 2020 came, although we were in COVID and I could have left, I think I was planning to have my notice in February. And then in February, we started getting reports of COVID. And I was like, do you know what? I'm just going to sit tight for a few months, just see how this plans out. But in that stage, I had a couple of coaching clients already. I was already doing a little bit of the property sourcing for other people and buying properties for myself. And it was like, do you know what? This is the worst time to do it in the middle of a pandemic, but I had to do it. I had to at least try. And because Zoom and all these other technologies were there to support more than ever before, I just said, I've got to do it. I've got to do it. I told my wife, I just have to at least try. I have to at least try and do it. And I've been very happy with my, like, there isn't work-life balance. It just doesn't exist. But if there was something, I would say I'm very happy. I suppose the best way to describe it is flexibility. I can pick up my kids. I can drop off my kids in the morning. If something's going on, I can go to a play or a sort of a presentation or something. They're doing something, and that is incredibly rewarding to be able to have that part of my normal life now. So I very much appreciate the flexibility it's given me.
Yeah, almost a bit of freedom as well. Did anyone try and talk you out of it?
Yes, my wife.
Interesting. And what
so I'm the dreamer. I'm the dreamer in the relationship. I have these visions of where I want, like there's still places in the world that I want to go to. Obviously, or not obviously, we've got 8 and a 10-year-old, so it's very much geared on making their lives as amazing as we can. But I'm the dreamer. I'm the one going, look, well, if I do this and do that, that's a new revenue stream. And I love my wife dearly, and she's the grounded one that's like, okay, where's the money coming from? Like, and we had a decent life in corporate, like financially, salary wise, and she was just like, but you're giving up another maybe 2 or 3 years, you're then earning X, which would be pretty much life-changing sums, and you're giving all of this up for such a huge risk. So yeah, she was definitely on the camp, okay, try it, but if it doesn't work out, you have to go back and you have to get a corporate job again. And I said yes. So we made that agreement, and it's been a roller coaster in certain times with certain situations and certain things, but it's definitely something I don't regret.
I love that. I mean, it shows the passion and commitment that you had, because when your closest loved one says, are you sure? You have to be very resilient. It's very easy to say, no, I'm going to stay in that corporate job and I'm going to continue as we are because it's safe, isn't it? It's the safest option you can have.
It is. But the thing is that there's redundancies. I think all the time I was at PwC, I went through 2 major redundancies, 07, 08 with the financial crisis, with the credit crunch. And then we had another one, I'm not sure when that was, 2004, 5. And a lot of people were made redundant. And therefore, there is stability to an extent. But if they can't afford you or they're going through troubles, companies will fire or will make redundant. Equally, the growth of you don't really get rewarded for helping grow the business. So yes, there is stability, but I think to an extent there's an element of false stability because, as I say, redundancies are made on cyclical. Every sort of 6-7 years, they get rid of some people, and therefore, but I get what you're saying. You get the salary in every month. You know what's coming in, and you can then adjust your lifestyle to it. And I still have friends, people that do it, and they like it. They're happy with what they're doing, and therefore, starting businesses. I say this a lot to other people. Starting business is not for everyone. You've got to be resilient.
Correct, yeah.
As you say, like I had to be resilient, that my wife was like worried about where the money was going to come, what we were going to do, how we were going to do it, what like a certain lifestyle that we'd both enjoyed that I had to maintain. And so, it did take resilience. It did take strength, but I think we both agree there's been massive rewards for us as a couple, as well as looking after our kids as well.
Yeah, I've got a similar story. I was at HSBC and I think it was 2008, similar time. We went through redundancies, 2010, then 2012, it was redundancies. And I think it was 2014 in the end, I just took redundancy because, it was like every 2 years they were making swathes and swathes of redundancy. But by that time, I'd been working part-time on the business out of work.
Yeah.
Kind of build up a little bit of reassurance that when I went full-time, I had something at least to go into. Similar to yourself, where you're kind of doing bits and bobs. And you just kind of, you make that jump and you go from every month on the 31st or the 25th, whenever it is, getting that salary to suddenly you're on your own now. And that's,
do you know, the one thing,
point.
Daniel, I think is the thing that kind of isn't spoken about as much as it should be about like making that shift is you need to have savings, a runway, whatever it is, something to bring some money in, because there could be, especially at the start, it can be really tough. It's either struggling to get clients or you're reinvesting everything back into the business because you want to grow it even more. And I kind of get frustrated, like this whole cash is trash that Grant Cardone gives out. And there isn't, I understand why he says it, because inflation kills cash. But you have to have, when things go badly, when things are not working out as well as you had hoped, you need to have some sort of safety net, or you're going to have to go back and do the job. So I think it's something that we, as aspiring entrepreneurs that are hopefully listening to this show, you need to make sure you've got a backstop, that you've got something that you can, that when the months are tough, that you can still pay the bills. And the thing is, like, it's a different story. You start a business at 21 or 18. You can live at home. You can live in the office that you can live in. But when I'm 44 now and I've got a mortgage, a car, a kids, I've got a certain lifestyle that we sort of we want, and therefore it's a completely different story at doing it in your 40s than your 20s. But still, if you've got to pay your employees on the end of every month, you need that in the bank to be able to keep the lights on. And so having a runway, having a sort of financial stability around you can be incredibly helpful for long-term success.
And I think that's really good advice, and especially anyone looking to set up it's just having that comfort blanket that, like you said, you can go and get another job if things aren't working out. But if you lose your house because you can't afford to pay the mortgage or you can't afford to pay the rent, then that has far-reaching consequences and puts the stress on absolutely massively.